Hi there guys, welcome back, issue number 4. In the comments last week, a few of you said that you were still enjoying some of the playthroughs and that kind of thing. So if you want to stay with me for that towards the end of the video, all you will need, if you want to play through it with me, is a range ruler, got one in issue 1, your dice from issue 1, and the castigators from last week. But anyway, back to this issue. So what have we got? We have got Glaivewraith Stalkers, which we'll make up in a minute. We have got a pot of nihilakh oxide technical paint. We have got a brand new double-sided mat, which we'll look at in a second. And then we've got our issue. Glaivewraith Stalkers, exploring the mortal realms and painting with nihilakh oxide. So, in this issue comes with your new battle mat, and it's a big one. This is because your games are about to get much more dynamic, with movement being introduced in this issue's playthrough. With rules for movement, your games will have many more tactical decisions for you to make. You'll start learning to move with the Glaivewraith Stalkers that come in this issue, so provided all the guides you need to get them ready for battle. Happy hobbying. Okay, so what have we got? Glaivewraith Stalkers. Sacrosanct Chambers. Sacrosanct Chambers contain the magic users of Stormcast Eternals. History number 3, the Necroquake. Azir Realm of Heavens. So we'll learn about Azir. How to build our Glaivewraith Stalkers. How to paint them. A guide to undercoating your Glaivewraith Stalkers and painting your Nighthaunt with nihilakh oxide. And then we've got playthrough issue 4. Something Wicked Stirs. This playthrough is on your new battle mat, which is much bigger than the previous one. We'll use this space to add movement to your games. Okay, so Glaivewraith Stalkers. Prowl the realms in packs, seeking prey to hunt. Once their target is chosen, the pursuit begins, and it will not end until the blades are buried in the heart of their victim. Nice and grim. So, we've got different types. We've got the Winsome Worm. And then we've got Zinkarn. The Geist known as Zinkarn once rode with a pack of outlaws who delighted in running down their victims on horseback. He was captured and executed for his crimes. The last sound he heard as a mortal was the steady beat of the executioner's drum. In death he has been cursed to serve as a deathbeat drummer. Each strike of his drum serves as a painful reminder of his death and endless servitude to come. Now this is an optional way of building this model. I am going to choose this one this week. If you look on the front cover, he is there. But as you'll see, there is actually 1, 2, 3, 4, potentially 4 ways of building this with the spears, and obviously one of them can be switched out for the drum. Okay, then we go on to Sacrosanct Chambers. The Sacrosanct Chambers are responsible for controlling and deploying the Storm Host's magical power. Its warriors wield the storm energy of Azir, whether through their weapons or thanks to years of training as a wizard. They are all created from souls of those who wielded powerful magic in life. Okay, so that's that. I'll go through the types. Lord Arcanum, Lord Exorcist, Lord Ordinator, Knight Incanter, Evocators, Sequitors, Castigators, and Sacristan Engineers. And it's got this part about Sacrosanct Chamber. And it goes through the different conclaves there. So Corpuscant Conclave, Redeemer Conclave, Justicar Conclave, and Ordinatos Conclave. Then we've got some history about the Necroquake. The Necroquake was an arcane disaster of epic proportions. Its explosive power sent death magic pulsating across the realms, warping the very fabric of magic and causing the dead to rise from forgotten graves. Okay, and it's got Nagashissar, which is Nagash's fortress. It was once Nagash's fortress and seat of power. During the Age of Chaos, it was razed to the ground by the followers of the Dark Gods. Nagash chose this site as the place to build his great black pyramid, hiding the construction as best he could within the blasted ruins of his fallen bastion. So if you do manage to get this, this is really interesting. I might do a whole separate issue just talking about the nihilakh, because it is really interesting and a massive, massive event in the world of Age of Sigmar. Okay, then we've got the Realm of Heavens, Azir. The Realm of Heavens is ruled by Sigmar and Sigmar alone. It was here that the God Kings first set foot upon the earth of the mortal realms, having been rescued from the destruction of the world that was. Azir is now a shining example of the might of Sigmar and his followers. Untouched by chaos, it is a bastion of order and justice. Okay. Then we've got how to build our Glaivewraith Stalkers, and I'll do that at the end. How to paint them. So this is working on the Glaivewraith Stalkers, and it is telling us to prime it in Corax White, 3 coats, and then to give it a coat of nihilakh oxide. Now, nihilakh oxide is a very runny paint. It's not quite as runny as a wash. It's probably the same consistency as probably one of the contrast paints. And as you can see, when it's painted on here, it does run right into the recesses and leave a lot of the raised surfaces still white, or mostly white. So nihilakh oxide is usually used to oxidize metals on your models and that kind of thing. But I think this looks like a pretty cool use of it. Okay, and they look good. They do look good, to be fair. I think maybe if I paint these up in time for next week's issue, which I'm really looking forward to, and we can have a look at it then. But no, that's cool. That's cool. Okay, from the Krypton Barrow, something wicked stirs. Anastasia Starstrike and her fellow Stormcast Eternals have survived several waves of attacks from the Nighthaunt Geasts. Wounded and outnumbered, she has ordered a retreat. Unfortunately, the Nighthaunt have other plans. Out from the mist and fog drift yet more Geists. Geists or Geasts? Now the attackers are twisted horse-like spirits. Their wicked glaives shine and their hollow eye sockets glow with hatred. They shall regret bringing us to battle, send them screaming into the oblivion they crave. Okay. So, we need 3 Castigators and 4 Glaivewraith Stalkers. So now is probably a fairly good time for me to make up the models, but before I do that, let's have the briefest of looks at the mat. Now my setup here doesn't allow me to show you the whole mat in one go, but what I can tell you is that there are 2 definitely sort of defined sides. One is an old ruins, which is very nice, and as we get our terrain, they will fit nicely on here. And the other side is a kind of open wasteland. But that's cool. Let's make up the models and then come back. Okay, so here's our Glaivewraith Stalkers. So this is the guy with the drum that we looked at a minute ago. Very nice. One speary dude. Here's another. And here's another. Now what else I've noticed is that the Castigators I showed you earlier are not from last week's. It's from a box I bought. And I know they're not because they're not in the grey plastic that we received last week, but I'll be using them this week just for a bit of contrast on the battlefield. Okay, so I'll set up this week's mission and then we'll take a look. Now the mat is very deliberately set up for today's mission, so you can see that it's already got marked out a place for us to put our models. So we've got this kind of golden lightning effect here for the castigators. And then we've got these 4 skulls for the Glaivewraith Stalkers. Okay, so today we're going to learn about movement. And what the mission is telling us is on the first page is that we're going to start off with the Glaivewraith Stalkers to have the first go. And they're going to initiate a move. Okay, so how we do the movement is we take our range ruler, we measure it from the base of the model, and we move it up to 6 inches. And then we just, without taking the mick, we move our other models up there. Now in Age of Sigmar, you have to be within 3 inches to pile in. Now obviously that's nowhere near. So these guys, for now, their turn is over. And now it's the turn of the castigators. Now, our castigators have got ranged combat, so those crossbows are well within range to hit these guys. So the castigators aren't going to move this turn. Instead, they're going to fire upon the Glaivewraith Stalkers. And what we can do is we can go to the back page and we can have a look at what they've got for the war scrolls here. And this will tell us the stats that are important. And what it will tell us here is that our castigators fire the Thunderhead Greatbow, and they attack with 1 dice per model, and they need a 3 or more to hit. So let's try that. So we've got 3 models here, so we're going to roll 3 dice, needing what's referred to as 3-ups. So we roll 3 dice, and they all go through. So now, so far in Mortal Realms, we haven't got on to saving rolls yet, so we're not covering that here. So that is 3 hits. Now, for the purpose of just this little tutorial, I'm going to change that to 1 hit. Now that's 1 hit. It goes through. Each hit does 1 damage. And the Glaivewraith Stalkers, they can take 1 damage. So effectively that kills this one model. So we remove him from play. And now we're back on to the Glaivewraith Stalkers' turn. So these guys again are going to move 6 inches. Which brings them up to here. And what they can do is something called piling in. So if they're within 3 inches, which they are, they can pile in. This covers the same criteria as before. So they have to maintain a distance of 1 inch from each other, but they can pile into these models. So if he was to move there, piling in, he can move there and stay within 1 inch. And he can move there and stay within 1 inch. And why this is important is that they are within 1 inch of each other, but they are also within 1 inch of all of these different models. So they can attack all 3 of these models if they want to. Now, these guys, they attack with 2 dice each. So that's 6 dice for this little phase of combat. And they hit on a 4-up. So 4, 5 and 6. Okay, so how many go through? Only 1 goes through for now. And it does 1 damage. Now, these guys take 2 damage each. So what we can do is we can take one of our spare dice. We can leave it next to a model of our choosing to say that they've taken 1 damage. And that's it. Okay, so let's quickly hit back with the castigators. So again, that's 3 dice looking for a 3-up. So that's 2. So let's take 2 models away. We'll hit back. Now he's within 1 inch of these 2 models, so he can attack either of those. He rolls 2 dice looking for a 4-up. And they both go through. So this model is dead. And this model can take that wound. Now, so these guys are going to hit back, and remember, he doesn't need to pile in because he's got ranged combat, so he can fire that. So they're going to do 2 dice each, looking for 1-up. Sorry, 3-up. They both go through. The Glaivewraith Stalker is dead. So that is a broad summary of the battle. Now, lots more rules are going to get added into the game as we carry forward. So, for example, if these guys hit these guys with 3 dice and one of them goes through on the 3 up, what would usually happen in the normal game is that they'd get an opportunity to make what's called a saving roll, so it's to avoid the damage. And if they rolled a high number, I think a 4 would probably be enough to save them in this instance, then they wouldn't take the damage. But we'll get to all those rules as they come out as we progress with Mortal Realms. Okay, so all we've got left to do this week is take a look to see what happens next week. And next week we've got something very special. We've got a brand new model that is exclusive only to these magazines. So we've got Xandria Azure Bolts. Excuse me. So she is coming next week. We're also going to learn about the Knight's Incanter. I don't know what Xandria Azure Bolt's battlefield role is, probably Lieutenant or something like that, but we will find out more next week. Okay, and then we also get a glimpse into issue 6. So again, we have got some really brilliant models from the Nighthaunt, the Thorns of the Briar Queen. So I look forward very much to those as well. So brilliant. So thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. What I will do is I will do a separate video for last week's battle, a little tutorial for that I can just so as we're up to date. I will, in time for next week, paint these guys in the style they appear in the magazine as well, so we can keep up to date with the painting as well. So thanks very much for watching, guys. If you enjoyed that, like and subscribe. If you didn't, let me know why, and I'll catch you later.